Meet Lena, a hotel heiress who had it all: a mansion, lavish parties, and a life of luxury. But what happens when her perfect world crumbles with a shocking family secret? Her parents were criminals. Her bodyguard betrayed her and she lost everything, only to go viral for dumping punch on her ex. Can a spoiled princess rise from the ashes? Welcome to Tales Revealed. Let's get started. When I was a little girl, I'd lie awake at night, dreaming of the person I'd become, maybe an astronaut, floating among the stars in a sleek silver suit, or a restaurant owner, commanding a kitchen filled with the clatter of pots and the aroma of sizzling spices. Sometimes, I even pictured myself as the President of the United States, standing tall on a podium, delivering speeches that moved millions. But never, not once, did I imagine I'd grow up to be the girl who went viral for dumping a glass of punch on her boyfriend's head at a birthday party. My name's Lina, and if you think that sounds insane, stick around. This isn't just about a splash of orange juice. It's the story of how my whole world flipped upside down and how I clawed my way back to something real. I was born into a life most people only glimpse in glossy magazines. My parents owned a chain of luxury hotels. Towering glass giants in bustling cities and sprawling resorts nestled against sun-kissed beaches. Our house was less a home and more a mansion. Marble floors, an indoor pool that shimmered under skylights, and a home theater in the basement with plush velvet seats. A staff of maids, butlers, and chefs buzzed around us, making sure every whim was met before I could even voice it. My 10th birthday was a spectacle. A live band played under a tent in our backyard, their music echoing through the night as I danced in a sparkly dress. By my 13th, my parents upped the ante, hiring a traveling circus complete with elephants lumbering across the lawn, clowns juggling fire, and a tightrope walker who made my jaw drop. At school, I was untouchable. Friends flocked to me like moths to a flame, and sleepovers at my place were the stuff of legend. Elaborate dinners with lobster tails and chocolate mousse towers, followed by movie marathons on a screen bigger than anything at the local cinema. I thought I had it all figured out. Life was perfect, and it'd stay that way forever. Not everyone agreed, though. One afternoon in the school cafeteria, as I showed off a new designer bag Dad had picked up from Paris, a girl named Sarah lost it. "Oh my God, Lena, you're so clueless," she spat, her voice sharp enough to slice through the chatter. "You think people actually like you? They just like your money." The room went dead quiet. I forced a laugh, called her jealous, and my posse jumped in, tearing her apart with snarky comebacks. She stormed off, red-faced, but that night, sprawled across my king-sized bed with its silk sheets, her words gnawed at me. I wasn't clueless, was I? People liked me because I was fun, generous, the girl who'd share her snacks or help with homework, or had I been fooling myself? I shook it off, burying the doubt deep, but it lingered like a splinter I couldn't pluck out. High school rolled on and I kept my crown as the golden girl, until my senior year, when the cracks started showing. My parents weren't the same. I'd catch them in the study, voices low and jagged, arguing over papers strewn across the desk. Sometimes I'd hear a fist slam down, followed by Mom's sharp, "We can't keep this up." The lavish dinners we used to host, complete with crystal chandeliers and 5-course meals, faded into memory, replaced by greasy takeout boxes or leftovers reheated in silence. The staff dwindled, first the gardener went, then one of the maids, and I overheard Mom whispering about cutting costs on the phone. I cornered Dad one evening as he sipped scotch in his armchair. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice small. He looked at me, eyes tired but warm, and ruffled my hair. "Don't worry, princess. It's all under control." I nodded, trusting him like always, the way a kid believes the world spins just for her. Right after my 18th birthday, everything shifted again. My parents sat me down and announced I'd have a personal bodyguard. His name was Ethan, and the moment he walked through our front door, I forgot how to breathe. He was tall, over 6 feet, with messy brown hair that fell into his deep blue eyes, a jawline that could cut glass, and a crooked smile that hit me like a punch to the gut. He was maybe 4 or 5 years older than me, but he didn't feel distant. I figured it was just my parents being paranoid. I'd started going out more, hitting clubs with friends, staying out past midnight in a world that felt thrilling and new. Ethan trailed me everywhere, a quiet shadow in a black jacket, always watching. One day, I fumbled my phone at a coffee shop, and as it clattered to the floor, he swooped in, picked it up, and handed it back with a wink. "Careful, princess. Not everyone's as nice as me." My cheeks burned, and from then on, he flirted. Little comments, teasing grins, enough to make my stomach flip every time he was near. I liked Ethan way more than I should have. He wasn't just a pretty face. He had stories. Wild tales of guarding rock stars and dodging paparazzi in cities I'd only seen in movies. One warm summer night, we sprawled on the grass in my backyard, the sky above us a blanket of stars. I gazed up dreamy and said, "I'll probably work for my parents' company someday. Should be easy, right?" Ethan laughed, a short, biting sound that caught me off guard. "Do you even know what they do, Lena?" I shook my head, heat creeping up my neck. I'd never asked. I just knew we were rich. He propped himself on an elbow, staring at me. "You're spoiled rotten. You snap your fingers and poof, everything's yours. How are you going to run a business when you don't even know what it is?" I stammered, "I'll figure it out." But he smirked. "Figure it out? You don't even know where you're standing." I wanted to yell at him, but the truth stung. I was clueless about the money I'd spent my whole life enjoying. That conversation lit a fire in me. I decided to get answers. The next day, I marched into Dad's office where he was hunched over his laptop. "What does the company actually do?" I asked, arms crossed. He barely looked up. "You don't need to worry about that, sweetheart. We'll always take care of you." I tried Mom later, catching her in the kitchen. "What's with all the secrecy?" She glared, spatula in hand. "Stay out of it, Lena. This is grown-up stuff." I backed off, frustrated, but the questions wouldn't quit. I started paying attention, the late-night calls Dad took in hushed tones, the way Mom locked the safe with a frantic glance over her shoulder when I walked in. Something was wrong, and Ethan's words echoed. "You don't even know what they do." Ethan was still around, shadowing me as always, but I wasn't as warm with him anymore. He'd hit a nerve, and though I still caught myself staring at him, those blue eyes, that damn smile, I kept my distance. I'd brush past him in the hallway, sometimes bumping his shoulder harder than necessary, hoping he'd call me out. He never did. Just flashed that grin and kept talking on his phone about some big plan with a buddy. It drove me nuts, but I couldn't shake him from my mind. One night, I trudged up to my room after a long day and stopped dead. My bed was covered in a sea of red rose petals, soft and fragrant, spilling over the edges. On my pillow sat a small card. I picked it up, heart racing, and read Ethan's messy scrawl. "I'm sorry for teasing you. You're smart, Lena, and you're gonna do amazing things. Don't hate me, okay?" I clutched the note, a goofy grin spreading across my face. It was corny as hell, but it worked. I forgave him right then and there, and suddenly I was daydreaming about us, him not just as my bodyguard, but as something more, something real. Graduation night arrived, and the senior class threw a massive bonfire party at a classmate's sprawling estate. I was buzzing with excitement. It was my chance to feel normal, not the rich girl who stood out like a sore thumb. I begged my parents to let me go solo. "No, Ethan. I'm 18 now. I don't need a babysitter," I pleaded, hands clasped. They caved, but as I grabbed my bag to leave, Dad stopped me. He pressed a tiny USB drive into my palm, his grip firm. "Take this to the lawyer's office tomorrow morning. Don't open it. Promise me, Lena." His voice was tight, his eyes darting. I nodded, shoving it into my bag, but curiosity gnawed at me like a hungry dog. Halfway to the party, I couldn't take it anymore. I ducked into a quiet alley, pulled out my laptop, and plugged in the USB. Files flooded the screen. Emails, contracts, spreadsheets. I didn't understand it all, but phrases like secret transfers, offshore accounts, and client payments leaped out cold and damning. My parents were laundering money for a criminal syndicate. My breath hitched, hands trembling so hard I nearly dropped the laptop. This couldn't be real. My perfect life, my perfect family. It was a lie. I fumbled for my phone and called Ethan. He showed up in 10 minutes flat, his motorcycle roaring to a stop beside me. I shoved the laptop at him, tears streaking my face. "Look at this." He scanned the files, his jaw tightening, then grabbed my shoulders. "Lena, you have to turn this in to the cops. Your parents aren't clean." I sobbed. "They're my family. I can't do that." His eyes softened, but his voice stayed firm. "I lost my family to someone else's crimes. My dad got tangled up with a gang, took the fall for their dirty money, and died in prison. I won't let you go down with your parents." His words hit me like a brick. Ethan wasn't just some hired muscle. He'd lived through this kind of betrayal. I choked out, "Okay, I'll do it." And he nodded, relieved. But after he roared off into the night, fear clawed at me. I couldn't turn them in. I stumbled home, hid the USB under my mattress, and swore I'd pretend it never happened. The next morning, I woke to chaos. The front door crashed open, and FBI agents swarmed our house, boots stomping, voices barking orders. They flipped furniture, ripped open drawers, and hauled out boxes of files. My parents stood in the foyer, Mom sobbing as handcuffs clicked around her wrists, Dad shouting, "Who did this? Who?" I huddled in the corner, shaking, my mind racing to that USB. Then I saw Ethan outside, leaning against his bike, his face etched with sorrow. He'd gone to the police anyway, snapped photos of the USB's contents that night and handed them over. In hours, my world crumbled. The house was seized, bank accounts frozen, friends vanished, headlines blared, hotel heiress left penniless after parents' money laundering scandal. I moved into a dingy one-bedroom apartment, the walls stained and the heat barely working. I landed a job as a barista, brewing coffee for minimum wage. Customers whispered behind my back, "That's the criminal's daughter." One guy spat in my face, sneering, "Your family's scum." I wiped it off, jaw clenched, and kept pouring lattes. Ethan showed up a few weeks later. He stood at my door, shirt rumpled, eyes shadowed. "I'm sorry, Lena," he said, voice rough. "I didn't want to destroy you. I wanted to save you from their mess." I exploded. "Save me? You threw me into a dumpster fire. Get out!" He lingered a moment, then turned and left. I slammed the door, slid to the floor, and cried until my throat ached. But as the tears dried, a bitter truth settled in. He wasn't entirely wrong. My parents had built their empire on lies, and I'd been too blind to see it. 2 years dragged by, and I clawed my way to something resembling a life. I picked up extra shifts at the coffee shop, stashing every spare dollar in a cracked jar on my counter. I made friends, real ones, like Jess, a coworker with a sarcastic streak, and Tom, a regular who tipped extra when he saw me struggling. They didn't care about my past, and slowly I started to feel human again. For my 20th birthday, I threw a little party in my apartment. It wasn't much. A lopsided cake I baked myself, a playlist on my ancient Bluetooth speaker, and a bottle of cheap wine split 5 ways. Jess lit candles, Tom cracked dumb jokes, and I laughed until my sides hurt. It was the first time in years I felt like I belonged. The doorbell rang mid-party, and I opened it to find Ethan standing there, a bundle of wildflowers in his hand. Daisies and dandelions. Nothing fancy. "Happy birthday, Lena," he said, his voice soft. I blinked, caught off guard, but waved him in. He mingled awkwardly at first, then opened up. He'd quit the bodyguard gig, now taught self-defense to kids in rough neighborhoods. "I think about you every day," he admitted, his blue eyes locking on mine. My heart thudded and I mumbled, "Me too, but I'm still pissed." As the night wound down, the others trickled out, leaving just me and Ethan. He turned up the music, a slow, mellow tune, and held out his hand. "Dance with me?" I hesitated, then took it. We swayed in my cramped living room, the flickering candlelight casting shadows on the peeling walls. For the first time in 2 years, I felt a flicker of peace. Then he leaned in, his breath warm against my cheek, aiming for a kiss. I pulled back, grabbed the half-empty glass of punch from the table, and dumped it over his head. Orange liquid splashed down his face, dripping onto his shirt, and he froze, mouth agape. I burst out laughing. "That's for the lies!" Jess, still lingering by the door, whipped out her phone and filmed it, cackling. The clip hit the internet and exploded. Millions of views in days, memes everywhere. This time, I didn't run from it. I started a YouTube channel the next week, calling it Lena Unfiltered. My first video was raw. Me in a thrift store sweater, sitting on my creaky couch, telling the whole damn story. The spoiled princess days, the USB, the betrayal, the fall. I didn't sugarcoat it. "I lost everything," I said to the camera, "but I'm figuring out who I am without the money, the mansion, the lies." People watched. First hundreds, then thousands. I kept going, posting about rebuilding a life from scratch, sharing tips on facing hard truths, finding strength in the wreckage. Comments poured in. "You're so real." This hit me hard. "Keep going, Lena." Ethan didn't vanish. He'd show up at my place sometimes, helping me fix a leaky faucet, cooking a questionable pasta dish, or just sitting quietly while I filmed. One night, over burnt garlic bread, he said, "I never meant to hurt you. I loved you back then, and I still do." I looked at him, the guy who'd torn my life apart, and somehow stuck around to help me pick up the pieces. "I forgive you," I said, "but I'm not jumping back in. I need to stand on my own first." He nodded, respecting it. I'm not the old Lena anymore. The girl who thought money bought happiness, who trusted blindly because life was easy. Now I'm just Lena, scraping by, building something real. That punch-dumping photo? It's framed above my couch, a splash of orange chaos against Ethan's stunned face. It's framed above my couch, a splash of orange chaos against Ethan's stunned face. It's not just a laugh, it's a badge, proof I'm tougher than I ever knew, and no one's writing my story but me. If you loved this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. And hey, don't miss the video that's right here on your screen. It's one you won't want to skip. See you in the next one.